A new report suggests the ban on Chinese tech giant Huawei in the UK will cost the government dearly. The Huawei commissioned assessment says the country's economy will lose over $23 billion. $13 billion will go in lost productivity, which can't be recouped. Over $6 billion will be lost in the mobile sector and a further $2.5 billion in related industries. And the British economy at large will lose another $2 billion because of delays. Aside from the financial loss, the report claims Britain will be jeopardizing its global leadership in a technology that's going to be crucial to life in the 21st century. Joining us now is Anupam Chander. He is the law professor at Georgetown University here in Washington and author of the book, The Electronic Silk Road. Anupam, thanks so much for joining us. First, how much of a setback to China is the pushback we're seeing to its technology?
So I think this is a serious issue for China and the United States. The decoupling that is the technology trade war is going to be harmful to both nations. How
is the sale of TikTok being viewed, not just in the U.S., but outside of the U.S., globally, and specifically the American government's handling, essentially, if you will, a forced hand in all of this?
So I think this is being viewed with some concern across the world. It's unusual for a country to order a foreign company to quit its shores or to compel itself to be sold and potentially at a fire sale price with 45 days notice. We don't close a house sale in the United States typically on 45 days, let alone a multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
Do you think this sets a dangerous precedent for the tech world?
I do. I think this is not the right way to go about the concerns that we should have about how data is handled through all of these kinds of apps. So I think those are serious concerns, but I think it should be handled in a way that isn't quite as impatient for a resolution and doesn't require only Americans to serve American consumers. I think a world of global trade is much better.
Beijing has indicated it might still block the sale of TikTok. What can it do?
So China has issued regulations that ban that could potentially at least complicate the transfer of certain artificial intelligence recommendation systems, which would seem to cover TikTok's algorithm directly. And so China is clearly exerting some leverage over the situation, essentially saying, we can veto the deal if it happens, if we really dislike it. But it's only a veto. It doesn't actually give it the power to shape the deal or to prevent the deal from happening.
Given what we're seeing going on, what does the future look like for Chinese tech firms operating in the U.S. and globally? And how might all of this serve as a perhaps deterrent for the next Chinese entrepreneur keen on making the next truly global product?
So I think that it will be it will cause some caution among entrepreneurs worldwide, because technology trade war means that companies can't globalize as easily, as readily. American companies are accustomed to globalizing, and Chinese companies have been accustomed to globalizing. And I think there's good reason that so China has in the past barred some American apps, and I think it's not a good idea for the United States to follow that example. I think it's better for us to have a globalized world where these apps are widely available to consumers across the world, as long as our data is protected, regardless of what apps we use and regardless of where those apps are from.
Anupam Chander from Georgetown University, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.